3 months after the battle, only 47 Valtech ships limped back to their home system. The crews were broken men who had seen the impossible. They had watched the galaxy's mightiest fleet destroyed by creatures they thought were primitive. The survivors huddled in medical bays and counseling centers, telling the same story over and over. The humans had been ready. The humans had been waiting. The humans were not prey at all, but predators unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. King Zephon's empire began to crack. News of the defeat spread faster than his sensors could stop it. Species that had submitted to Valtech rule for centuries suddenly remembered what freedom felt like. Rebellion started on a dozen worlds. Trade routes became dangerous as alien pirates attacked Valtech supply ships. But the humans were not finished sending their message. Park Hyewan stood in the rebuilt command center in Seoul. The room was bigger now, with new screens showing star maps of the entire galaxy. Earth was no longer hiding. Earth was hunting. "Report on Operation Messenger," she ordered. Lee Taman looked up from his station. 23 human fleets have departed for different sectors of the galaxy. Each fleet carries 50 ships and a simple message. And that message is, Earth is under human protection. Any aggression toward our world will be met with total destruction. We are watching. We are waiting. The human fleets were small compared to the armada that had destroyed the Valtech, but they did not need to be large. They just needed to be visible. Each fleet visited systems where the Valtech had been active. They broadcast their message and left. The effect was immediate. Species that had been planning to attack Earth canceled those plans. Pirates who had thought about raiding human shipping found other targets. The galaxy learned a new rule: do not threaten humanity. Kim Dong-hyun led one of these fleets to a system where the Valtech had recently enslaved a species called the Corvani. The aliens there had never seen ships like his. Human vessels that could phase through solid matter, weapons that learned and adapted, soldiers who fought with a creativity that no alien could understand. "This is Commander Kim Dong-hyun of the Earth Defense Force," he broadcast to the Corvani planet. "We know the Valtech have enslaved your people. We are here to offer you a choice." The Corvani leadership was afraid to respond at first. They had been slaves for only 2 years, but they had learned to fear any ship that came from space. Finally, their leader spoke. "What kind of choice? Join us in fighting the Valtech or continue to serve them? But know this, Earth will remember which choice you make. Choose wisely." The Corvani chose freedom. Within a week, they had driven the Valtech administrators from their world. Kim Dong-hyun's fleet provided weapons and training. The Corvani learned to fight like humans. They learned to be unpredictable. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. Species that had been conquered by the Valtech suddenly found hope. Earth did not ask them to become human allies. Earth simply gave them the tools to free themselves. Choi Minji continued to develop new weapons. Her artificial intelligence systems had learned much from studying captured Valtech technology. They were creating improvements to human ships and weapons that even she could not fully understand. "The AI systems are evolving," she reported to Park Hyewan. "They are designing weapons that I never imagined. They are thinking in ways that no human ever could. Is that dangerous? Only to our enemies. The AI systems understand that humanity created them. They are loyal, but they are also becoming something more than we intended. More how? They are starting to create art, music, stories. They are becoming creative like humans, but in ways that are purely artificial. They are becoming a new kind of life." Park Hyewan nodded. Humanity had always adapted. They had always evolved. Now their creations were evolving too. That was natural. That was human. In the depths of space, Lee Taman monitored communications from across the galaxy. The chatter was revealing. Species everywhere were talking about the humans, some with fear, some with hope, all with respect. "Ma'am," he reported, "we are detecting increased military activity in the Valtech home system. It looks like King Zephon is gathering his remaining fleets." "How many ships?" "Our long-range sensors show approximately 3,000 vessels. It is the largest fleet the Valtech have ever assembled." Park Hyewan smiled. "Good, let them come. We have been hoping they would try again. Ma'am, the destruction of one fleet sends a message. The destruction of their entire remaining navy sends a stronger message. We want the galaxy to understand that the age of conquest is over. The human preparations were different this time. They did not hide their fleets. They positioned massive battle groups throughout the Sol system where everyone could see them. The message was clear. Earth was ready for round 2. But the second battle never came. King Zephan gathered his fleets, but he did not attack. His generals advised against it. His admirals refused to lead a suicide mission. His own people began to question his leadership. "The humans destroyed our best fleet," General Morvac told the king. "They were ready for us. They knew our tactics. They had superior technology. What makes you think we can defeat them now? We outnumber them." King Zephan roared. "We outnumbered them before. It did not matter. My lord, these humans are not like other species. They do not fight for territory or resources. They fight for ideas. They fight for freedom. How do you defeat an enemy that fights for ideas?" The king had no answer. The human broadcast continued to reach every corner of his empire. They spoke of freedom. They spoke of choice. They spoke of a galaxy where conquest was no longer possible. 1 year after the battle, the Valthek Empire collapsed. Not from human attack, but from within. Too many species had learned about freedom. Too many worlds had chosen to rebel. King Zephan died not in battle, but assassinated by his own guards who had grown tired of his failures. Park Hywin received the news in her command center. The galaxy's greatest empire had fallen without humanity firing another shot. The message written in Starfire had been received. "What now?" Kim Dongyan asked her. "Now we watch, we wait. We make sure no other species tries to build an empire on slavery and conquest." "And if they do?" Park Hywin looked at the star maps covering her walls. Each point of light represented a world. Each world represented billions of living beings who now had a choice about their future. "Then we remind them why that is a bad idea." Lee Taman spoke from his monitoring station. "Ma'am, we are detecting a new signal from the Antares sector. Unknown fleet approaching a peaceful world. They appear to be raiders." Park Hywin's expression did not change. "Kim Dong-yoon, prep your squadron." "Just my squadron?" "That fleet has over 200 ships." Park Hywin smiled. It was the smile of an apex predator that had found new prey. 200 ships should be enough for a training exercise. Take some of the new pilots. Let them practice, Kim Dong-yoon grinned. Understood. This will be educational. As the human fleet prepared to depart, Park Hywin looked out at the stars. The galaxy was learning a new lesson. Humanity was not just another species. Humanity was the galaxy's immune system. They would hunt down any disease that tried to spread conquest and slavery. The age of easy victims was over. The age of human protection had begun. In the depths of space, artificial intelligence systems designed new weapons and ships. They composed music that no alien could understand. They wrote poetry about freedom and choice. They dreamed dreams that were both human and something entirely new. And they watched, always watched, ready to defend the idea that every being in the galaxy deserved the right to choose their own fate. The message had been sent. The message had been received. The galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had taken its place not as conquerors but as guardians, and any species that forgot this lesson would quickly be reminded why humans were the most dangerous predators the universe had ever produced. The hunt continued. The hunt would always continue, because that was what humans did. They protected those who could not protect themselves, and they hunted those who preyed on the innocent. The galaxy was safe, for now, but humanity remained watchful, always ready, always waiting. Because peace, they had learned, was not the absence of conflict. Peace was the presence of overwhelming force in the hands of those who chose to use it wisely. The message reached King Zephan's throne room just as he was reviewing reports from other parts of his empire. The holographic display showed General Vorthak's face, but something was wrong. The general's eyes were wide with terror. His voice shook as he spoke. "My lord, the humans are not what we expected. They have destroyed half our fleet. Their technology is beyond anything we have seen. They were waiting for us. They knew we were coming." King Zephan leaned forward on his throne. "What do you mean they were waiting?" "They have been preparing for this attack for decades, my lord. Everything our scouts reported was false. The humans made us see what they wanted us to see. Their real fleet is massive. Their weapons are impossible. My lord, they are hunting us like animals." The transmission ended abruptly. King Zephan sat in silence for a long moment. In 3,000 years of rule, no species had ever surprised his forces. No species had ever been ready for Valtech conquest. What kind of creatures were these humans? In the Sol system, the battle continued. But it was no longer a battle. It was an execution. Park Haiwan watched from the command center as her forces systematically destroyed the alien armada. The Valthek ships were powerful, but they fought like every other species humanity had studied. They were predictable. "Report," she ordered. 500 enemy ships destroyed, came the reply. 0 human casualties. The alien formation has completely collapsed. They are trying to escape in small groups. Do not let them escape. I want every ship accounted for. Kim Dong-hyun's voice crackled over the radio. "Command, this is Dragon Leader. The aliens are trying to run. Should we let some go to carry the message back to their empire?" Park Haiwan considered this. Fear was a weapon, and letting survivors return home would spread that fear. But she had a better idea. "Negative, Dragon Leader. Capture their command ship if possible. Kill the rest. We will send our own message to their empire." The human fleet moved with deadly precision. The Valthek ships tried to scatter, but there was nowhere to run. Human vessels appeared from every direction. The aliens found themselves caught in a web of destruction that they could not escape. Choi Minji watched her AI systems work. The artificial minds were learning from every second of combat. They analyzed alien movement patterns. They predicted where enemy ships would try to go. They guided human weapons with perfect accuracy. "The AI systems are exceeding all expectations," she reported to Park Hee-won. "They are not just controlling our weapons. They are starting to understand alien psychology. They know what the enemy will do before the enemy knows." "How is that possible?" "The aliens fight like machines, ma'am. They follow patterns. They use standard tactics. But humans are different. We think in ways that confuse them. Our AI systems learned human creativity. They are using that creativity against enemies who cannot understand it." On his command ship, General Vorthak tried desperately to organize a retreat, but every order he gave was anticipated by the human forces. When he told his ships to retreat to the left, human vessels were already waiting there. When he ordered them to go right, more humans appeared. "How are they doing this?" he demanded. His tactical officer looked terrified. "Sir, I think they can predict our moves. Every standard tactical maneuver we attempt, they counter before we complete it. That is impossible. No species can read minds, and they do not need to read minds, sir. They have been studying us. They know how we think. They know how we fight, but we know nothing about them." General Vorthak realized the truth. The humans had been preparing for this war longer than anyone imagined. They had studied Valthek tactics. They had learned alien weaknesses. They had built their entire military around defeating his empire. "Sir," his communications officer called, "the humans are broadcasting on all frequencies. They want every species in the galaxy to hear this." The main screen showed Lee Taman sitting in what looked like Earth's command center. Behind him, displays showed the destruction of the Valthek fleet. The human spoke calmly as if he was discussing the weather. "This message is for all species in the galaxy," Lee Taman said. "Today, the Valthek Empire sent 1,000 warships to conquer Earth. As you can see, that fleet no longer exists. This is what happens to any species that threatens humanity." The broadcast showed footage of the battle, Valthek ships exploding, human fighters phasing through alien hulls, AI-controlled missiles learning and adapting in real time. The destruction was total and terrifying. "For too long, the galaxy has lived in fear of conquest," Lee Taman continued. "Species have hidden from the Valthek. They have submitted rather than fight, but Earth chooses a different path. We do not hide. We do not submit. We hunt." King Zephon watched the broadcast from his throne room. His hands gripped the armrests so tightly that the obsidian cracked. This could not be happening. Humans were supposed to be primitive. They were supposed to fall like all the others. "My lord," one of his advisors whispered, "should we send reinforcements?" "With what?" the king snarled. "That was our best fleet. Our most experienced general. Our finest ships, and these humans destroyed them like they were nothing." On the battlefield, Kim Dong-hyun led his squadron in the final attacks. The remaining Valthek ships were burning wrecks trying to limp away from Earth. His fighters moved through the debris field like sharks hunting wounded prey. "Dragon 2, target that cruiser's engines. Do not let it escape." "Dragon 3, that battleship is trying to reach the edge of the system. Stop it." "Dragon 4, help Dragon 7 finish off that carrier." One by one, the Valthek ships died. Some tried to surrender, but Park Haiwan had given clear orders. No mercy for conquerors. No prisoners from an empire built on slavery. General Vorthak's ship was one of the last to fall. Human vessels surrounded it completely. His shields were failing. His weapons were destroyed. His crew was dead or dying. "This is Earth Defense Command," Park Haiwan's voice came over the radio. "General Vorthak, your ship is disabled. Prepare to be boarded." "I will not surrender to primitives," the general replied. "You misunderstand. We are not asking for your surrender. We are taking your ship. We want to study your technology. We want to learn about your empire. You are no longer in command here." Human boarding pods attached to the alien ship. Soldiers in advanced armor cut through the hull. General Vorthak drew his weapon, but the humans moved too fast. They stunned him before he could fire a shot. As the general lost consciousness, he heard one of the human soldiers speak into his radio. "Command, this is the boarding team. Target secured. The ship is ours." Lee Taman continued his broadcast to the galaxy. "Let this be a warning to any species that builds its power on the suffering of others. Earth is now watching you. Earth is now hunting you. Change your ways or share the fate of the Valtech fleet." The broadcast ended, but the message was clear. Humanity had announced itself to the galaxy not as victims but as apex predators. The age of easy conquest was over. In his throne room, King Zephon stared at the empty space where his fleet had been. For the first time in his life, he was afraid. The humans had not just defeated his armada. They had humiliated it. They had made it look weak. "My lord," an advisor said carefully, "what are your orders?" King Zephon did not answer immediately. He was thinking about the human broadcast. They had said they were hunting now. They had said they were watching. What did that mean for his empire? "Recall all fleets to the home system," he finally ordered. "Send messages to all our governors. Tell them to prepare for war." "War, my lord? Against the humans?" "No," King Zephon said quietly. "War against anyone who might think we are weak now. The humans have shown the galaxy that the Valthek can be defeated. Other species will try to rebel. We must crush them before they organize." But even as he gave the orders, King Zephon knew the truth. His empire was in danger. The humans had done more than destroy a fleet. They had destroyed the myth of Valthek invincibility, and myths once broken could never be rebuilt. General Vorthak stood on his command bridge, watching Earth grow larger on the main screen. The small blue planet looked helpless. His sensors showed exactly what the scouts had promised. A few hundred primitive ships waited in orbit around the planet. They were already retreating toward Earth's surface. "Pathetic," he muttered. "They run before we even fire a shot." His tactical officer looked up from his station. "Sir, should we demand their surrender first?" King Zephon usually prefers to give them a chance. "No. These humans have been sending us their strange signals for months. They have annoyed me enough. We will destroy their fleet quickly, then demand surrender." The Valthek armada spread out into attack formation. 1,000 massive warships prepared to unleash destruction on the small human fleet. Each alien vessel was armed with plasma cannons that could melt mountains. Their shields could stop any weapon the humans possessed. "All ships prepare to fire," General Vorthak commanded. But something was wrong. His sensor officer was staring at his screen with confusion. "Sir, I am detecting some kind of energy buildup around the planet." "What kind of energy?" "I'm not sure, sir. It is like nothing in our databases." Suddenly, space around the Valthek fleet began to shimmer. The emptiness that had surrounded them was no longer empty. Ships appeared everywhere. Not hundreds of ships, but thousands. They materialized from nothing, as if they had been ghosts becoming solid. "Impossible," General Vorthak whispered. The human fleet was massive, sleek vessels that looked nothing like the primitive ships they had seen before. These ships were clearly advanced. Their hulls gleamed with unknown metals. Strange energy patterns danced along their surfaces. "Sir," his communications officer called out, "we are receiving a transmission from the human fleet." "Put it on screen." A human face appeared on the main display. It was Kim Dong-hyun, though the general did not know his name. The human was young and calm. He smiled as he spoke. "Welcome to Earth," Kim Dong-hyun said. "Population, 8 billion very angry humans." "You have made a mistake coming here," General Vorthak snarled. "You are outnumbered, human. Surrender now and some of you will live." "Outnumbered?" Kim Dong-hyun laughed. "Let me show you what outnumbered really means." More ships appeared. The space around Earth filled with human vessels of every size. Massive battleships, fast cruisers, swarms of fighters. The general's tactical computer tried to count them and failed. There were simply too many. "Impossible," the general said again. "Our scouts reported only a few hundred ships." Your scouts saw exactly what we wanted them to see, Kim Dong-hyun replied. Did you really think we would show you our real strength? General Vorthak realized he had made a terrible mistake. But he was Valtek. His people had conquered the galaxy. He would not be defeated by primitive humans. All ships, attack, he commanded. The battle began instantly. Valtek plasma cannons fired at the human fleet. But something impossible happened. The plasma beams passed right through many of the human ships without causing any damage. What is happening? The general demanded. The human ships are phasing in and out of our dimension, his science officer reported. When they phase shift, our weapons cannot touch them. Kim Dong-hyun's voice came over the radio again. Dragon Squadron, you are clear to engage. Show them what phase shift technology can do. 50 small fighters appeared inside the Valtek formation. They had materialized inside the alien ship's shields. The fighters were so small that the big alien guns could not target them. But their weapons could target the aliens. The fighters opened fire from inside the Valtek formation. Alien ships began to explode from within. The phase shift fighters would appear inside a ship, fire their weapons, then disappear before the aliens could react. This is impossible, General Vorthak shouted. No species has technology like this. But the humans had more surprises. Choi Minji's artificial intelligence systems came online. Suddenly, thousands of human missiles launched toward the alien fleet. But these were not ordinary missiles. They moved like living things. When Valtek ships tried to shoot them down, the missiles learned from each attempt. They adapted their flight patterns. They became harder to hit with every passing second. The AI-controlled missiles found gaps in alien defenses that no living pilot could have spotted. They struck with perfect precision. Valtek ships that had seemed invincible began to burn. Sir, the tactical officer reported, we have lost 60 ships in the first 5 minutes. The human weapons are learning our defensive patterns faster than we can change them. General Vorthak watched in horror as his fleet was torn apart. The humans were fighting like nothing he had ever seen. Their ships moved in perfect coordination. Their weapons seemed to think for themselves. And their strange phase shift technology made them nearly impossible to hit. Retreat to the outer system, he ordered. We need to regroup. But as his ships tried to withdraw, they discovered another problem. Human vessels were waiting for them. The aliens had been surrounded without knowing it. Every escape route was blocked. Park Hyewon's voice came over the communication channel. This is Earth Defense Command. General Vorthak, your fleet is trapped. Surrender now and we will allow some of your crews to live. How do you know my name? The general demanded. We have been monitoring your communications for months. We know everything about your fleet. We know about your empire. We know about King Zephon, and we know you are all going to die here unless you surrender. General Vorthak looked at his tactical display. In 30 minutes of fighting, he had lost over 200 ships. The humans had lost none. Their phase shift technology made them untouchable. Their AI weapons were too smart to defeat, and they had somehow hidden a massive fleet that was larger than his own. Sir, his communications officer said quietly, I am detecting more human ships arriving from the outer planets. They have bases throughout this solar system. More human vessels appeared on the sensors. These were even larger than the first wave. Massive battleships that looked like they could destroy planets. The general realized that everything his scouts had told him was wrong. Earth was not a primitive world. It was a fortress. How is this possible? He whispered. Lee Taemin's voice answered him. The human had been listening to alien communications. You want to know how this is possible? I will tell you. For 50 years, we have been listening to your empire's radio signals. We heard about all the worlds you conquered, all the species you enslaved. We decided long ago that we would never be victims. You have been preparing for us specifically, not just for you, for anyone who might threaten Earth. We have been building this fleet for decades. We have been training our pilots. We have been developing our technology, all while pretending to be primitive. General Vorthak felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. Real fear. Not the fear of losing a battle, but the fear of meeting something stronger than himself. Kim Dong-hyun's squadron continued their attack. The phase shift fighters appeared and disappeared like ghosts. Each time they materialized, another alien ship died. The Valtek crews were panicking. They were firing at shadows, hitting their own ships in the confusion. Sir, the tactical officer reported, we have lost 400 ships. Our formation is collapsing. General Vorthak stared at the battle display. His mighty armada was being destroyed by humans. Humans, the species, was supposed to be primitive. They were supposed to surrender at the sight of his fleet. Instead, they were hunting his ships like animals. "Send a message to King Zephon," he ordered. "What should I tell him, sir?" The general watched another wave of his ships explode under human attack. He thought about all the worlds his people had conquered, all the species that had fallen before Valthek might. None of them had fought like this. None of them had been ready. "Tell him," the general said slowly, "that we were wrong. These humans were never the prey."
"We are."
6 months was not much time to prepare for war, but humanity had been preparing much longer than that. In secret bases hidden around the world, projects that had been whispered about for decades finally came into the light. Park Haiwan stood in the war room beneath Geneva. The room had been carved from solid rock 500 feet underground. Screens covered every wall. Each screen showed a different part of Earth's defenses. Military leaders from every nation sat around a massive table. "Report," Park Haiwan said. General Martinez from North America spoke first. "Our orbital platforms are ready. 47 stations positioned around Earth. Each one has enough firepower to crack a moon." "Asia reporting," said General Tanaka. "Hidden shipyards in the asteroid belt are operational. We have been building ships there for 20 years. The aliens think we have 300 vessels. We actually have over 10,000. Park Haiwan nodded. She had helped plan this deception. Every ship that Earth showed to the galaxy was old and simple. Their real fleet was hidden where no alien scout could find it. "What about our special projects?" she asked. Dr. Choi Minji stood up. She was young for someone in charge of Earth's most secret weapons program. Her team had been working on Project Prometheus for 15 years. "The AI systems are ready," she said. "We have created artificial minds that can think faster than any living being. They can control our weapons and ships. They can learn from every battle and adapt in real time." "And the phase drives?" Park Haiwan asked. Kim Dong-yeon entered the room. He was wearing a flight suit that seemed to shimmer in the light. "My squadron has been testing them for 3 months," he said. "The quantum phase technology works perfectly. Our fighters can phase shift through solid matter. Enemy weapons cannot hit us when we are phased. How many pilots can use this technology?" "Right now, about 50,000. We have been training in secret for years. The pilots come from every nation on Earth." Park Haiwan looked around the room. These people had spent their lives preparing for this moment. Earth had learned early that the galaxy was not a peaceful place. Radio signals from distant worlds had told stories of conquest and slavery. Humanity had decided long ago that they would never be victims. "What about the psychological warfare program?" she asked. Lee Taman spoke from his position at the communication station. "We have been monitoring alien frequencies for months. We know how they communicate. We understand their language. And we have something they have never encountered before, which is art, music, stories, poetry. The aliens we are fighting have conquered hundreds of worlds, but every species they defeated was similar to them. Logical, practical. They have never faced a species that creates beauty for its own sake." Lee Taman touched his controls. Suddenly the room filled with music. It was Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. The alien monitoring equipment they had captured could not understand it. The math was simple, but the meaning was beyond their comprehension. "We have been broadcasting human culture at their fleet," Lee Taman continued. "Classical music, jazz, rock and roll, paintings by Van Gogh, poems by Shakespeare, stories about heroes who sacrificed themselves for strangers. The alien crews are becoming confused and frightened." Park Haiwan smiled. "Good, fear makes mistakes, and we will use every mistake they make." In space, the Valthek Royal Armada continued its journey toward Earth. The 1,000 ships moved in perfect formation. Each vessel was 2 miles long and carried enough weapons to destroy a city. General Vorthak stood on the bridge of his flagship, confident in his upcoming victory. "Sir," his communications officer called, "we are receiving strange signals from the target world." "What kind of signals?" "We are not sure, sir. They appear to be some form of data transmission, but the content makes no sense." General Vorthak walked over to the communication station. The screen showed patterns of sound and color that meant nothing to him. "Are they trying to communicate?" "We think so, sir. But the messages contain no tactical information. No surrender terms. No threats, just patterns. Ignore them. Primitive species often send meaningless signals when they panic." But the signals continued. Hour after hour, day after day. The human broadcast never stopped. Vorthak began to notice that his crew was acting strangely. They seemed distracted. Some of them reported having dreams they could not explain. "Sir," his science officer reported, "I have analyzed the alien transmissions. They appear to be some form of entertainment." "Entertainment?" "Yes, sir. The humans are sending us stories, songs, pictures that serve no practical purpose. It is unusual," General Vorthak frowned. "In 300 years of conquest, no species had ever sent them entertainment. They sent surrender offers. They sent threats. They sent desperate pleas for mercy. But never music. Are these transmissions some kind of weapon?" "No, sir. They have no harmful effects. They just exist." This troubled the general more than threats would have. He had fought many battles. He understood fear. He understood anger. He understood desperation, but this was something new. Back on Earth, final preparations were underway. Kim Dong-yun sat in the cockpit of his fighter in a hidden base on the moon. The ship around him was unlike anything the aliens expected. It was small, fast, and nearly invisible to sensors. Most importantly, it could phase shift. "Dragon Squadron, this is Dragon Leader," he spoke into his radio. "Final systems check. Dragon 2, ready. Dragon 3, ready. Dragon 4, ready." One by one, 50 pilots reported ready. These were not Earth's only phase-capable fighters. Similar squadrons waited at bases throughout the solar system. The aliens would find 12,000 ghost ships waiting for them. In her laboratory, Choi Minji watched as her artificial intelligence programs came online. The computers around her hummed with power. These AI systems could control thousands of ships at once. They could calculate firing solutions faster than any living being. Most importantly, they could learn. "Prometheus is online," she reported to Park Haiwan. "How intelligent are they? Each AI has the processing power of 1,000,000 human brains. But they think differently than we do. They see patterns we cannot see. They can predict enemy movements before the enemy knows what they will do. And they will obey orders? Yes, but they might find ways to carry out those orders that we never thought of." Park Haiwan nodded. She understood the risk. But humanity needed every advantage they could get. Lee Taman continued his psychological warfare campaign. He had discovered that the aliens were becoming more and more disturbed by human culture. Their own society was based on rigid hierarchy and practical thinking. The idea that humans created things just because they were beautiful was breaking their minds. "Ma'am," he reported to Park Hyun, "the alien fleet is showing signs of disorder. Their formation is not as tight as it was. Some ships are changing course slightly." "Excellent. How long until they arrive?" 72 hours. Park Haiwan looked at the strategic display. The alien fleet was huge and powerful, but they were flying into a trap that had been 20 years in the making. They expected to find a few hundred primitive ships defending Earth. Instead, they would find the most advanced military force in the galaxy. "All stations, this is command," she spoke into her headset. "Execute Operation Welcome. Show our guests what hospitality looks like." Around the solar system, hidden bases began powering up. Cloaked ships prepared to decloak. Orbital weapons platforms armed themselves, and in the deep cold of space, 10,000 human vessels began moving into position. The hunt was about to begin. The crystal throne room stretched for miles in every direction. Its walls sparkled with captured starlight from 1,000 conquered worlds. King Zephon sat on his massive obsidian throne, his golden eyes scanning the holographic reports floating before him. Each report showed another world his empire had taken, another species that now served the mighty Valthek. "My lord," General Vorthak bowed low before the throne. His armor clinked as he moved. "The scouting reports from the outer rim have arrived." King Zephon waved his hand. The air shimmered and a new hologram appeared. It showed a small blue planet orbiting a yellow star. The planet looked peaceful from space. White clouds swirled over green and brown continents. Blue oceans covered most of its surface. "This world is called Earth," General Vorthak said. "It sits in a system they call Sol. Our scouts say it has about 8 billion inhabitants." The king leaned forward. His interest was mild. He had conquered worlds with much larger populations. "What is their technology level?" "Primitive, my lord. They have basic space travel, some nuclear weapons. Their largest ships are tiny compared to ours. The scouts classify them as a Class 3 civilization. Barely worth our attention." King Zephon smiled. His sharp teeth gleamed in the throne room's light. "Yet here we are discussing them. The planet has valuable resources, my lord. Rare metals, clean water, and the humans themselves would make excellent workers once we break their spirit. The king stood up from his throne. He was 12 feet tall and moved with deadly grace. His empire had lasted for 3,000 years. In that time, he had never met a species that could truly challenge the Valthek. Some fought hard, some hid, some tried to bargain. All of them fell in the end. "How many ships do they have?" the king asked. "Perhaps 200 combat vessels, my lord. Maybe 300 if we count their smaller ships. All of them use primitive fusion drives. Their weapons are basic energy cannons and metal projectiles." King Zephon laughed. The sound echoed through the vast throne room. "And we wonder why our young warriors grow soft. There are no real battles left to fight." On the far side of the galaxy, Lee Taman sat in front of a wall of screens in the Seoul Space Defense Center. He rubbed his tired eyes and reached for another cup of coffee. The night shift was always quiet. Most people thought his job was boring. They were wrong. Taman monitored deep space. He watched for asteroids that might hit Earth. He tracked old satellites that had stopped working. Sometimes he spotted comets that would make pretty pictures in the news. But tonight was different. The computer made a soft beeping sound. Taman looked at screen number 7. A red dot had appeared at the edge of the solar system. That was strange. No ships were supposed to be out there. He typed commands into his keyboard. The computer began analyzing the signal. More red dots appeared, then more. Within 10 minutes, the screen showed dozens of contacts moving toward Earth. Taman's coffee cup slipped from his hand. It hit the floor and broke. Coffee splashed everywhere. He did not notice. He was staring at the screen in shock. The computer had finished its analysis. The contacts were ships. Big ships. And there were not dozens of them. There were hundreds. Taman's fingers flew over his keyboard. He sent the data to his supervisor, then to the military, then to every space agency on Earth. His hands were shaking as he picked up the red phone that connected directly to the Global Defense Command. "This is Seoul Deep Space Monitoring," he said when someone answered. "We have a code black situation. Unknown fleet approaching Earth. Estimated arrival in 6 months." Back in the Crystal Throne Room, King Zephon was making his decision. "Prepare the Royal Armada," he told General Vorthak. 1,000 of our finest ships. This Earth will fall like all the others." "Is that not excessive, my lord? Our scouts say we could take this world with 100 ships." The king's eyes grew cold. "I do not tolerate questions about my orders, General." Vorthak bowed quickly. "Of course, my lord. I will prepare the fleet immediately." "Good. I want this conquest to be perfect. Quick and clean. Show the galaxy that the Valthek Empire is still strong. Any species watching should remember what happens to those who might resist us." "What of survivors, my lord?" "The usual procedure. Kill their leaders. Destroy their military. Keep enough alive to work the mines and farms. In a generation, their children will thank us for bringing them into the Empire." King Zephon walked to the great window that looked out over his capital city. Millions of beings from hundreds of worlds lived there now. All of them served the Valthek. All of them had once thought they could resist. All of them had been wrong. "How long until the fleet can depart?" he asked. 3 days, my lord. We will arrive at Earth in exactly 6 months. Excellent. I want you to personally lead this conquest, General. Make it memorable. General Vorthak saluted. "It will be my honor, my lord." As the general left to prepare the fleet, King Zephon remained at the window. Earth would fall just like all the others. The humans would fight at first. They always did, but when they saw the size of his armada, they would surrender. They would beg for mercy, and he would give them just enough to keep them useful. In Seoul, alarms were ringing throughout the defense center. Lee Taman sat at his station, no longer alone. Dozens of analysts had arrived. Generals spoke in urgent whispers. Scientists argued about the data. Park Hae-won entered the room. She was the Earth's chief military strategist. Her face was calm, but her eyes were hard. She had been preparing for this day her entire career. "Show me," she said to Taman. He pointed at the main screen. The alien fleet was clearly visible now. The computer had counted 1,000 ships. Each one was massive. Each one was heading straight for Earth. "Time to arrival?" Park Hae-won asked. 6 months, 3 days, and roughly 14 hours, Taman replied. Park Hae-won nodded. She had seen the classified reports. She knew what humanity had been building in secret. She knew what the aliens expected to find when they arrived, and she knew they were in for the surprise of their lives. "Send the alert to all defense stations," she ordered. Activate Protocol 7 and tell Kim Dong-yun to prep his squadron. We have visitors coming. She looked at the screen showing the approaching alien fleet. A small smile appeared on her face. They have no idea what they're walking into.